1 millionth pick. It's a very large number. This was in February. So take us back through to where we started and how we got to this place.
It was 1990. No,
Yeah.
sorry.
Not that old. I think it was 2017, right?
It's about 10 years almost.
Yeah. The very first project we had in the US, I think it was a life sciences and healthcare operation. I do remember the first couple of weeks were the most interesting, to be honest, to see like how we identified this as a technology, not just, interesting from an innovation perspective, but quickly being able to see that there is a concrete productivity improvement. And I do remember the number, 181% of UPH increase in the first couple of weeks. And I think it wasn't the smoothest ride always. So we also had like some sprints and some stalls, and then we continued. But I do remember going with you and Al through the different sites in Europe and in the UK, just scouting how that, like, where do we see the right fit for your solution? So it was very interesting.
I don't know if you noticed, but when they started with Locus, I was actually with DHL too.
You were in CSI, yes.
More innovation units, so not the core business, but very involved into the early developments. And DHL had back in the days already developed a culture of being the first and testing a lot of things, fail fast, fail cheap, learn and adapt quickly. And with that, just, focus then on what scales. And I think you guys had identified back in the days that Locus scales quickly. So first deployment, first pilot went successful, second one followed quickly. E-commerce by the time was not so developed as a standard operation. So they've started to put Locus into a lot of different pursuits for e-com business. And they've been the first doing that and won business with it. And then to your point, a global organization with a global network of warehouses started to look into other regions. And that then, allowed us to learn quickly. There's, lots of different potential for each picking, for replenishment, returns, lots of different applications for material flow. How many warehouses do you have worldwide?
We operate 2,500 operations across 5 regions. So I think it's just to your point around our scaling up program, our what we call accelerated digitalization, which is a program that started also around the same time. So we started the very first steps to industrialize the process of adopting technology and just not just looking, for just some cool innovation here or there, but looking at what could be truly scalable and impactful. And at that time, I think we started creating our very first templates of what does like a good operational profile for different technologies look like, and what do different technologies exist over there in the market that would match our different operational archetypes. Be that e-commerce, which at that time was still picking up. Life sciences and healthcare, I think, was one that was strongly growing at that time. I think we also started looking at, the others like automotive, manufacturing, all the sorts of different sectors, and trying to identify Locus as a great fit for e-com and retail, piece picking, but also what does exist over there that could be a good fit for other types of operations and sectors.
Yeah. And then Dennis, from your side, the scalability perspective, I guess it's an exciting and an interesting challenge, but how do you keep up, right? Going from one site, 2 sites, 3, and then just keeping, obviously, offering that same level of after service support, reliability to the customer as well. How does that journey look from your side?
An organization is like a human body. Everything needs to grow at the same time for healthy growth, and that's what we fundamentally had to do. Fouda said it earlier. It's you make learnings as being first. Also, not everything is mature. Things grow. You identify gaps, and it's important that you acknowledge together with your customers where you got to focus on. And at the end of the day, everything we do is a people business. It's the tech that enables automated fulfillment, but it's the people who grow that business. And a startup towards a scale up is a massive transformation for a business. And I strongly believe you only become a big company if you have a big customer, at least one. And DHL allowed us to call them that. And with patience plus persistence and discipline to help scale it in an iterative process to say, here's what the organization needs to change and improve. Open dialogue where we want to grow together, and that allowed us to be focused on the right things. For me personally, as I then started the business in Europe, developing marketing, sales, customer success, it's a fine act of growing all of that at the same time. And it's sort of easy to reflect on how you do it.
Yeah.
You got to be lucky at some point, right timing, right people. Like I said, again, you're only as good as your team is, on both sides, I would say. And been lucky to have that. Yeah.
And then for going back to you, and even if I go before, before 2017, look, we're at Logimat, and I say it a lot before, and that's actually why I started the podcast. There are a number of different providers for ASRS, AMR, AGB, whatever it is, ASRS, cube-based solutions. So look, I guess, why did you end up with the partnership with Locus? But then you mentioned scalability. What else is really important to not DHL, but any other 3PL or retail customer when choosing automation?
Yeah. So I think to that point, and to Dennis's point earlier on being a people's business. So in the past 5 years, and you could apply the same, calculations earlier on, but in the past 5 years, we've recruited 40,000 colleagues, and we have at the same time deployed 8,000 bots all across the globe, a couple thousand or more with Locus. And the idea is that you always need to find the best solution that complements the skills of the colleagues on the shop floor for a certain process. Now, with that in mind, there were mechanized automation and different types of conveyor belts. I think they go back to the 70s and 60s, maybe even. But what we wanted to look for are solutions that can provide more flexible stability to the operations in a way that you're able not just to be stuck with an existing system and not able to change it so much, but be able to adapt to how the operational demand from your customer side changes. And we've seen in the past, I think, 5 years, they've never been boring, I think, since 2020 or 2019 with COVID, but then also with some of the geopolitical situations taking place afterwards. We've seen that forecasts from our customers, and we had very interesting conversations around the customer forecasts, could very easily change. So we could sit in a tender process, try to understand what does the future look like, how does the volumes look like, what does the order profile, the typical one, looks like, and then 2-3 months in, something changes in the world, and we need to adapt. So there is an element that mechanized automation could support, but also the flexibility that we get with being able to scale up and scale down bots, complement them with maybe also data analytic solutions, looking at other types of automation that are as flexible. I don't think there are so many, but like more flexible robotics would help us to be agile and to be reactive enough, and sometimes even more proactive towards the customer demands, how they change.
Yeah. And that leads me nice into the next point. Dennis, we spoke a lot before about like flexibility or scalability, in the sense that a lot of other providers, and I guess it depends on the solution, but if I have an ASRS or a cube-based solution, we can scale, we can upscale very quickly. But like what you said, Fouda, if something changes, there's stuff happening in the US, there's COVID, there's a pandemic, whatever's going on, the downscaling is not, you can't just rip out an ASRS system.
COVID was very interesting because we had all the e-com forecasts. Everyone was expecting that we would just continue our lives ordering online. And then once we had the opportunity back again, everyone was just like, running towards a retailer, and you'd see the shift in the order patterns. And with that also the impact on how the operations, changed. So what was like a 2-3 lines per order, 1.5 units per line,
Makes a big
as
difference.
an average order during COVID time, that changed drastically afterwards again.
Yeah. So Dennis, how do you upscale, downscale? What true flexibility? What does that mean to you?
Yeah. It's sort of there's these words, scalability, flexibility. They're partially used intertwined, and we have a different definition of flexibility, and then would claim that we're the only one who providing that flexibility. But I want to start with the point you made on scalability. It's true that other systems can scale up, but I would challenge how quickly they can do that. You still have the fixed infrastructure that is required, and we can talk about a grid system that you need to expand. adding bots to it, including the inventory into all that. But it's if you think about the total system, in order to accomplish output, you require induct stations to feed the system. You require pick stations to pick product from that, and any of that is an additional construction project. Construction projects are not defined by being quick. So there's that. Like when we speak about scalability, and this happened, Fouda can call us, say, I need 10 bots in this new warehouse. How quickly can you deliver them? It's within a couple of days.
Wow.
And there's no additional infrastructure required, right? So it's the promise of mobile robotics, software enabled, is you can operate in an environment that has never been designed for automation. So there's that on terms of scalability. Flexibility has multiple dimensions. The demand capacity, sort of the demand responsive capacity is one item of that. Yes, you scale the number of bots up, but you can also scale it down. That's a significant reality particularly in retail, e-com, if you think about seasonality. So being able to scale up for, Black Week, Cyber Monday. But more and more you see so much seasonality throughout the year. There's, different sales campaigns, there's different launches. Back in the days, it's been Christmas. That's the seasonality. Maybe return to school holidays. But there's so many specific industries that have other spikes in the year, and just the nature of e-commerce just drives a lot of volatility. So being able to respond quickly to that's one aspect of flexibility. The second aspect of flexibility is the sort of nature of what your warehouse layout looks like, combined with what product you need to store in terms of inventory, and the respective velocity of your SKUs. So how quickly are products turning? Think of ABC. And the flexibility with Locus is that you can change the layout and overlay on that. Locus is like an operating layer on top for material flow. And if your layout changes, if you expand the area, if you want to, I change my pallet locations to a high bay racking. I actually want to move my outbound to a different area or expand it. Like there's ton of flexibility where the operating layer of Locus is just adjusting to that. If the structure of your stock keeping units changes, DHL as a 3PL contractor is operating warehouses on behalf of their end customers. So what if that end customer is changing, or if their respective products are changing? You can, you have a standard form factor with different container configurations. There's 300 different configurations we can adopt on the robot. So if he tells me we want to do more B2B than B2C, then we can change the container configuration and correspond with that. And then ABC structure, how quickly your products are rotating, how we need to think about robots allocating to those assortments. There's just massive possibilities. So just to give you a few, because I'll be talking too long, but to give you a flavor of the different layers of what flexibility means.
Okay. And what do you, from your side, feel that in terms of, again, you need to be flexible as well, because you've got multi-customers that are demanding different things, gives you a level of reassurance, right? If they say, right, this has changed, and you go, right, well, I know I can get you a robot in 3 days or 4 days or 2 days in some cases, depending on where it is, that gives you a level of reassurance and makes your life a lot easier, I assume.
Yeah, definitely. So that's why we have a successful partnership also since 2017 till today. And I think a big part of this also is the great work we've done together with our friends in SVT. So we're creating those templatized approaches where we're able not just, to scale up and down as quickly as possible, but also deploy much quicker. So we have now more than 40 sites together across the globe. So going back to the scalability point, we now operate together in 5 different regions with more than 40 sites in different countries. And having the ability to do that within our ecosystem, with the support of Locus, with the support of SVT, with the support of others in a templatized fashion, that yes, we can scale up, the fleets in 3 days, but we can also start up a new operation with a fleet of bots, with the support of our friends here, in less than 3 months, sometimes even going down to a couple of months or slightly less, is definitely a valuable setup to have for a customer that may change their requirements, may need something that is urgently supportive to them. And it allows us to succeed. So I think we really like succeed together. Otherwise, it's just not going to work.
Yeah. And from an integration point of view, like Fouda calls you and says, "Hey, right, I need robots ASAP." How does the back end work from your side, the logistics, getting them to site, and then the integration all the way through to like go live and switch on? How does that look from a Locus perspective?
So for launching new warehouses for DHL, Fouda mentioned SVT. So there's a standard connector that integrates with the different WMS systems. That connector is one lane towards the Locus system. So we're saving many different weeks to not, requiring additional any custom development. So that's in place. For us, every single robot is the same. There's different configurations. Lead times are, a couple of different weeks. If it's just a number of robots, we can deliver those in days. Our global supply chain has operations in Boston as well as Amsterdam and Singapore. And within those areas, we're doing final assembly. We do local configurations. Within the warehouse, the operating system is supported by local communications. So there's a dedicated network infrastructure that is pre-configured and pre-installed. And then the robots effectively go and be shipped to the site. And they're ready to, pick up the communication, local servers on-prem. We do then everything that we need to do to prepare a warehouse. We're mapping the site. We're testing the integrations respectively. We do workflow configurations, UAT, SIT, et cetera. And like Fouda said, this is, by now a standard process with, a couple of weeks lead time.
Cool. And sustainability, if we can talk sustainability. I'll go to DHL first. Obviously, it's a very, very big program, as with a lot of retail customers and 3PLs. So if that's a very broad question, what does that look like in your world specifically
So we have a very clear target of net zero emissions by 2050. And what we are working towards right now is improving our overall emissions setup. So there's obviously lots of work that is being done with sustainable fuels and using also electric vehicles and so on and so forth. But I think with robotics and automation and with Locus, we're able also to reduce the carbon footprint per pick, which is quite interesting because that's one of the processes with highest labor spend, with highest effort on the site level. And if you're able to optimize how you do this process and use more components that are eco-friendly, then you have the opportunity to increase the savings from a carbon footprint overall of your own operations, of your own business. So I think with the work that you guys are doing around providing more and more, I think, sustainable battery systems and charging systems is good for us. We also work with solar suppliers, so we try to make sure that the sources of the energy that we're using to operate these bots are sustainable sources. And we continue, the journey of reaching a net zero emissions.
Yeah. And from your side, Dennis, like you said about the battery technology, the charging from a Locus perspective, what does sustainability mean to you?
Yeah, we're not using combustion engines, so that's a starting point. I like the idea of circular economy as it relates to sustainability. It's probably our strongest, example. If you think about the 17,000 robots that we have deployed across the globe, and the subscription model, we provide everything as a service. Our customers don't own the assets, we own the assets. So we have an interest in lifetime, not just only from a sustainable perspective, but also from an economical perspective. And I would say there's not a single robot in our 10 years history that has been scrapped and not reintegrated. So every robot that requires a potential replacement is being reintroduced through Boston, Amsterdam, Singapore into a refurbishment process, not just only wear and tear, but ensuring lifetime durability, and it's being reintroduced into some other home. I don't really have numbers for this, but I would say there's many robots who have traveled at many different locations across the globe, down to the peak robots that are being provided for short-term seasonality. They're being then later on introduced to long-term home. So from a material perspective, I think this is a strong example.
Yeah. And is there, I'm maybe jumping to a conclusion that I'm not saying or speaking on behalf of the other integrators or the other providers, but when you own, like you said, the asset, so it's as a service, you own the product, so are you more enticed or motivated to make that product the best it is? I'm not accusing others of selling a solution and then forgetting about it or then trying to sell an after service package. That's of course not the case, but is there something along those lines that, like I said, it's your responsibility, it needs to be performing 100% all the time?
Yeah, there's several dimensions to this. We would call so robotics as a service abbreviation, RaaS. We call it the RaaS relationship. The RaaS relationship with our customers is not to throw the robots over the fence and wish them good luck with it for the contract period, but ensure on a weekly, monthly, quarterly cadence that we're critically aligned and on the same page what's going on. And durability of the robots is definitely a big element to that. We are very focused on key metrics such as durability of each particular part of the robots. We're looking at predicting wear and tear. We're looking at in-field measurements to ensure long lifetimes. There's specific elements where just simply physics doesn't allow that. Batteries, for example, we all have our phones, laptops. We know at some point that battery requires a replacement. But yeah, aside of that, you find the right balance of durability and building everything at the right cost to provide it also at the right cost to our customers.
Yeah, cool. And from I guess just in general, not necessarily specific to Locus, but from a DHL point of view, like I said, I was with Redland and Richard at the DHL digital manufacturing site and talking about Boston Dynamics and some of the cool stuff they're doing there. But there's a lot of automation, a lot of exciting things happening in DHL in general. Just high level, why is it important to you, or how does it make your life easier?
Automation generally, or
in general? Yeah. Not just Boston Dynamics, not Locus. It's just all of it. Like, how does it help you? How does
that's
it
a
make
very
life
good
easier?
question. I think generally, like, the customers need the best support that they can get, and it's a competitive environment, right? So we cannot just stay still for a beginning and like do things how they've been done like for the past 100 years. You have all the past, I think, elements of our conversation today. So the requirements for the flexibility aspect of doing certain process or supporting a certain customer in a way, the ability to have a way that increases productivity. So I'll tell you an example, going back to the people business kind of thing. So right now we have an ambitious target of 2 by 30. We want to double our size through the next 4 years. No, it's not even 5 anymore. So through the next 4 years. And in order to do that, you could think, we're a business of 188,000 colleagues. Will we ever be able to find another 188,000 colleagues in the next 4 years and just, talking about carbon footprint, talking about sustainability, build another layer of warehouses above, 2,500 operations across the globe? The amount of resources that this may require to adapt to the growth in different businesses and our ambitions with just conventional methods of doing, the supply chain processes, is going to be sort of impossible. And the only solution, I think, or the way forward that we can really be able to go to that level of scale is working with our partners in the ecosystem to make sure that we have innovation that is scalable. So not, only just pockets of cool stuff here and there, but rather solutions that are addressing a certain process challenge, providing productivity improvement, able to provide savings to ourselves and to our customers, making them more successful. We also have resilient support and maintenance processes. We are able, to always evolve with the health and safety requirements from different geographies and from different business sectors and segments. We're able, to also work together. I think IT security is an interesting element. So the way that we also scale our technology deployments is very dependent on how resilient our connections are. So talking about integration earlier, every implementation that has, a robotic solution, a Locus implementation going through to our WMS is potentially a breakpoint for both of us, like it's a vulnerability for both of us. So also the amount of work that your team does, that our team does, towards making sure that each and every connection is as resilient as possible, as protected as possible. So whenever there is a concern, there is changes in like the geopolitical situations, all of that around the world, we're also able to grow in a resilient fashion. I think all of that without innovation and without partners that always look at the future, and without being able to productize those solutions through our different teams working together, I don't think we would ever be able, to double the size of the business, to be able to adapt, to the changing demands, customer. I think on a consumer level, and you can see, like also this, the retailers or the e-com platforms on a consumer level, everyone now, including ourselves being guilty of that, want, a new product that they would like to have today with the best quality possible, with the cheapest, delivery possible. How can you do that with just like adding more people and brick and mortar without robotics and without technology? I don't think it's possible.
Okay. Yeah. Dennis, you touched on a really good point actually about the security. It's not something I actually planned to ask you, but how, with the advancement in technology, that means things can be more secure. Your after service teams can log in remotely. They can do maybe a lot more things than we had access to 5 or 10 years ago. But also that's in some cases a weak point. If you've got that technology to make it better, someone, if they want to, has the technology to penetrate into your security systems and get access to whatever they might need. But how do you prevent that? How do you try and make things as secure as possible?
Yeah. Sticking to the latest technological design standards, and rigid, disciplined employee training, starting from the top. Internal phishing attacks to educate people, to prevent that actually happening in real. From a technological perspective, we touched on server and prem, and yeah, maybe not sharing too many details around that in case somebody listens who may have bad thoughts, but I actually think it really is based on those two things. The good thing is, you may appreciate this, but we at the very beginning we shared that we're building a big business on the back of growing with big customers, and we have our vulnerability concerns, but we're engaging here with a Fortune 500 company that makes more than 60 billion revenue and operates in more than 200 territories, employing 600,000 people across the globe, and not just only delivering the next e-com order to somebody, but delivering life critical components and supplies to many different areas, and supporting disaster response and whatnot. If that business is impacted by cyber attacks, the impact on humanity is massive, right? And my point is, we're learning from them, so they are challenging us, they're auditing us, and based on those conversations, we're actually getting better and better and better ourselves. And my personal feedback point is, if DHL is happy with us, I can sleep comfortably.
Yeah. How many audits did we go through together in the past?
You cannot count it on two hands, for sure not. No.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And from I'm always interested to see how we utilize AI in different areas. I think when we spoke before, Dennis, you mentioned about like the navigation and the efficiency of like the route pathing of the robot specifically. Doesn't have to be that point, but just in general, how everyone's using AI in different areas of their business. I'm sure you are as well, Fouda, in DHL. But for yourself, for the bots, how does that work?
So we've been 10 years on the market, and you can comfortably say AI is something we've been deeply integrating from day one. You mentioned an example. I want to touch on that because I think it's a key differentiator. So providing an operating layer into the warehouse world, and being able to adopt within that. So AI is allowing you to do that. So it's embedded into our navigation stack. It's embedded into how robots behave and respond to its real environment. It's the way how we intelligently orchestrate robots and today people through the operation. It's how do we take work that is being provided by DHL and cluster and orchestrate that across the fleet, and how do we then leverage data to optimize the workflows respectively. This is a key component. A second component is as we march towards launching Array, which is a fully autonomous picking robot next to other use cases to support different use cases end to end. Computer vision, picking and placing, establishing that is leveraging AI. It's not just only a programmed logic, but it's a agent that gets better and better with every single data point it captures. That's for me the definition of AI.
Yeah. And food, I think you mentioned like the growth and the ambition of DHL to grow so much. There's naturally there'll be a gap in the work. Well, you can't find the workforce from a recruitment point of view. But as you go from more manual to automated solutions, then AI can be for training, for upskilling and taking someone on a journey from being a picker or a packer or an operator in a manual warehouse to an automated warehouse. You can utilize AI to help training, like say they have goggles or vision systems, however it works, in different environments as well. So from a DHL perspective, AI can be and will be utilized quite a
It
lot as well.
definitely
I
is
assume.
already today. So it is embedded in all of our ways of working. I think looking at how do we operate internally, how we communicate also with each other, like, just day to day, day in, day out, everyone has to use AI. Otherwise, you're just losing efficiency, you're losing productivity. Obviously, physical AI or robotics as an area of AI that is an applied way of, just as Dennis was mentioning, navigation, order grouping, computer vision with Locus, but also, across the board. So we use computer vision to make sure that, we're doing the proper quality checks on orders that are being shipped out or returned that need, some inspections before they're refurbished. And there are also went into, like the circular economy of some of our customers. So really AI is just everywhere. I don't think there is, an aspect that we look at today in our day-to-day work where AI is not embedded already. And I think one of the latest examples is also what we do with Happy Robots. So this is the use of AI in order to be able, to provide customer support for one of the most painful areas for, making sure. I'll cut that later on because I don't think that's uh, so using Happy Robots to do customer support in some of the most challenging situations where a customer would want something that is available right away, able to get the right answers and the level of detail, and the leveraging AI is today reaching a point where it's as accurate as a human would be able to do this job, and also could take more challenging conversations in a lighter way. And we have a couple of examples I think already shared in the media that you may see, and you would not really see the challenge of this as an like the old school, oh, this is I'm speaking to a robot on the phone or something like that. Like it just feels completely human.
Yeah. Do you have a side note? Do you have? I think it was Amazon that were trialing and looking to implement like for the operators in the warehouse. So DHL looking into like the vision
We
systems
looked
like
into
goggles. I'm
that,
not sure how
and we keep an eye on that. I think also a very important element is that AI is there to support humans, not to make their life sometimes harder. Vision picking was one of the technologies that we got some mixed feedback from the operators. Um, it 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 wasn't preferred by everyone, so it also impacted the scalability of that technology. And it's not something that I would say is the solution that we have mostly deployed everywhere today. It's not like there are other elements, for example, with AI, like with voice picking, where it could, tell you in an easier way where to find the right product, the right SKU in the operation, guide you to go, into the different aisles and so on. But with vision, it's just like wasn't the best received from an operator perspective.
Yeah, I saw a report about like motion sickness and things like that. So yeah, it adds up. Yeah, I couldn't use it personally. So yeah, it adds up. Okay. Dennis, next, if you've got your crystal ball out, the next 5 years, 10 years in the world of automation and in the world of Locus specifically, how's that look for you?
Um, if you think about the advancements from LLMs over the last 2.5, 3.5 years, the reason we've seen that acceleration is because those systems have been able to be trained based on the internet. Like, you could source a lot of different data. In the physical world, that's a lot more difficult. I do think we're going to see continued advancements in performance of existing systems. The question is gonna get more answers to what can be automated based on the complexities automation can deal with. Costs are gonna go down, performance is gonna go up. But I do think we're still far away from like general purpose automation solutions. So I'll say the word humanoids.
Yeah.
I personally, it's exciting, fascinating technology. It made a lot of progress, but I do continue to believe into purpose-built machines that provide you with the performance and come at the right cost to be justified in the world of business. Because at the end of the day, we still need to do everything at the right cost. It still needs to be economically viable, and there's ton of great technology out there, and automating use cases already today, and we'll see that continue to scale, because there's still overall the belief that 80% of warehousing is fully manual, and those companies leading their respective areas are going to continue to scale in those domains. We'll see more and more AI being plugged into that. To Fouda's point, I agree, it needs to be in every single building block of an organization, and that's going to continue to build a more intense environment and accelerate those developments. But I personally, despite the fully automated picking solutions like Locus Array, don't necessarily see revolutionary technology on the horizon. General purpose may become applicable, but I think it's still a long way to go.
Any comments? Any thoughts on that?
No, I agree. I don't think humanoids is the answer for everything. I don't expect that to happen in the next even 5 years. I don't see this materializing. I also don't think that, there's this interesting example we are using wheels for a reason. If everyone could just ride a car with legs, we could have probably done that some time ago. So I don't think that this is the key to everything as humanoids as being the ultimate solution. But what I also agree with Dennis on is we will see more and more use cases supported by AI. So today we're looking at each picking. We're looking at more fully autonomous each and piece picking. I think we start to look at more challenging SKUs in the future. So this is something that I look forward to see more of. We're working very hardly in DHL to figure out the next, best solution for case picking, for example. This is an area we're spending so much effort and focus, and we're testing with so many different players. Also, we look together with Locus at it, and we continue to do. I think Vector is able also to take part of that profile of bulkier SKUs. I think pallet movements, is an area where most, if not all, of our operations do some sort of pallet movement. So I also look forward to see more robotic and automation solutions that are not, just your conventional pallet shuttle systems that requires an upfront investment that is huge, but more flexible, more scalable, in the same way that we work with Locus, but doing that for pallet movement and for case handling. I think unloading also. So really, I could go process by process, but I think in a nutshell, it's just looking at the value chain or the process flow of a supply chain operation and seeing more process steps being automated in a very similar fashion to what Locus does with us today. So having this flexibility and having more of a modular setup, going to the shelving example, with a Locus bot, you could have all sorts of different shelves. With a robotic arm, we should see, faster way of changing the grippers and being able to handle different sorts of SKUs. So I really look forward to seeing, incremental increase of innovation. And I don't think there is, an iPhone that we're missing here or there. And definitely that's not going to be the humanoids in the next years to come.
Yeah, yeah. And do you think quite a few people from the retailers and 3PLs that I work with touch on the end of line, whether it's the packaging or the palletizing, or the loading or unloading into the trailer quite a bit? Why is, from your perspective, like the palletizing part of the process, why is that so difficult? Or why is there so much room to grow there? What technology are we
For
missing, or what
palletizing,
are we
Charlie.
doing wrong? Yeah, in general, because that's the place where I hear like that's when I speak to people, that seems to be the trickiest part, or the part that we haven't nailed
I mean,
completely.
there are different players that are working on this, and you spoke to Richard and Redland, I think, in your previous episode, and they did some great work also on palletizing solutions for us with our digital manufacturing team. I think because this is a mix of different challenges that maybe each of them separately would look small, but when you combine them all together, it becomes a more complex challenge to tackle. So one thing is finding out the right algorithm that basically is able to best provide, like the palletization sequence. So which product to put where, taking consideration weights, dimensions, stability, point, center of gravity, and so on and so forth, as better than a human that is doing the process for years and years is already trained and able to do so. You also need a very good computer vision, solution that is able to identify different SKUs and is also able to adapt that. Potentially you get new SKUs, you get new cases, you get new products. So are we going to, take a pose and train the model from scratch, or do we have a model that is already properly pre-trained and also dynamic in the way that it has a proper machine learning mechanism behind it that is able to always reinforce new learnings into it? I think it's a bulkier process. Bulkier processes are not easier than more nimble processes. So I think piece picking was a very neat, problem to tackle and to face and find a solution that is able to get it done. But when you look at palletizing with bulkier items or cases, then this becomes just a stack of different smaller problems that together they make the situation, less easy to tackle.
Yeah, we did.
To tackle.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And Dennis, I think final question for me. You can't say Locus; it has to be outside of the Locus world. What are you excited for in terms of technology? It doesn't have to be related to the warehouse world, but just in general, what are you looking forward to?
I think I look forward to continuing to allow people to free up time by, building technologies that do work we humans shouldn't be doing. We have, so many beautiful skills, and life's short. And I do hope there's, at some point a time where, don't want to sound too naive here, but I think technology taking the dull, dust, and dangers away, regardless of if it's warehousing or other places, and allowing us to spend more time on, what really matters in life.
What about you?
I would definitely echo that. I hope that I see technology enabling more people do what they love to do rather than just, being focused on certain elements or certain topics. I wish to see technology, as you mentioned, I really like what we said, like dull, dusty, and dangerous. I think this is where technology is supposed to support us, always to complement us rather than just, being an alternative for humans. And I really look forward, to seeing this becoming more of a reality in our lifetimes. And I think that's going to happen in the very short term, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just a repetitive task, isn't it? I mean, to be fair, I just on ChatGPT, I hate cooking and preparation around cooking. So literally at the end of every day, it will say, "Hey, this is like," I tell it what I like and things like that, and it now learns what I like. So, hey, for your food shopping tomorrow, or make this tomorrow, and it just plans out my whole week, and I don't have to think about it. I hate thinking about cooking. I hate the cooking, so that's simplified my life. dramatically.
Then you save
it makes
time
life
this
a lot
way.
easier.
You
And I
save
save
time.
time.
You do
Yeah,
something
yeah.
more fun.
So
Yeah.
again, but if you do that 10 times in 10 different areas of life that you don't like, then
Yeah.
big change. So yeah, cool. I think that is all. Anything else from you?
Yeah,
Alright.
that's good.
Very cool. Pleasure. Well, thanks for coming on, and we'll catch up very soon.
Thanks a lot.
Awesome.